Today on CityCast Chicago, losing someone to gun violence can be extremely isolating because the truth is that pain never really goes away. We visit a community vigil that brought families together who've experienced similar tragedies, reminding them they are never truly alone. It's Thursday, April 17th. I'm Jacoby Cochran, and this is what Chicago's talking about.
Let us know by your raising your hand, and you'll get that opportunity to do that. Speak from your heart. Speak from your heart. Don't feel like you're here to say what you think somebody wants you to say. Or you got to follow a script. Speak from your heart because you know what's there. But listen with your heart also. If we all just listen with our hearts.
I'm here with our producer, Michelle Navarro. Michelle, welcome back to the mic, my friend.
Thanks, Jacoby.
That voice we just heard was Ruby Taylor, one of the facilitators for a healing vigil in honor of National Crime Victims' Rights Week. Michelle, you attended this past weekend. Can you tell us where you were and why exactly?
The vigil was in Grace Memorial Baptist Church in North Lawndale, and it was hosted by Cornicki Barnes. She's also the founder of HUG, which stands for Help Understanding Grief Support Group. The vigil was in partnership with Crime Survivors for Safety Justice, another organization that brings awareness to survivors of crime and violence. And it was just to bring families together who have experienced the loss of someone to gun violence and to remember them. This was basically kind of this event to bring people together so they can talk and share about their loved ones that have passed. They're also there to bring awareness to victim rights and compensation. And by compensation, I mean, a lot of these families go through financial difficulties after losing their loved one. And so there were some organizations there kind of to provide information on what they can do when someone dies because of gun violence.
Why was it so important for you to go visit this vigil?
Growing up, I always saw like makeshift memorials on street corners. And by makeshift memorials, I mean like candles with saints on them, bottles of liquor, candies, foods, photographs, balloons, teddy bears. And so these are so common and you see these all the time. And growing up, there was just something that you would see and you just knew that someone died there. And it's something that is chilling, but also in a way you think, wow, like this person was so loved that every year that it happens, you see the same balloons in the same spot or the same teddy bears and the same things in that spot because the loved ones still want to remember and honor them where they last were. And so because it's something that is so common, it just made me wonder how important it is to people to come together and continue to honor and memorialize the person they lost. It's unfortunately part of our culture as a city that experiences gun violence. And so being in a room with people who have gone through this experience, I thought would be important for me to understand what's that about and what it's truly like.
I have lost friends and family members to gun violence. And you have those moments around the holidays, around their birthdays, when like that pain starts to come back up, right? That those like their death days, like they really hit communities very hard. And oftentimes, right, if you don't have an event or a community offerenda or something to memorialize them, it can often feel like a sort of really isolating time. And so the idea of like people coming together to participate in remembering is so special. And like you said, we grew up and we still see it on corners around our city and in our neighborhoods. How did you meet Cornicki?
I met Cornicki at the Traces Survivor Storytelling Workshop. Some listeners may remember that a couple months ago, we did an episode talking to people who were participating in this workshop, which basically the Trace is one of the newsrooms that cover here in Chicago that cover specifically on gun violence. And so they create this space for survivors to come in, learn how to write their own story, and they end up getting published, talking about the loved one they lost and kind of like what their life looked like afterwards. Kornicki was one of those people, and she's invited me to her grief group, which is a space she provided, in order to make spaces like this possible in North Lawndale. Once her son died, she did not have a grief group, so she had to make one on her own. And so in addition to leading events like this, she is also planning a memorial basketball game.
My only child was killed, and after losing 2 cousins prior to him, I realized nobody was coming back in our community to help us, and so we had to help ourselves. And I didn't know how to start, but I knew I had a table, I knew I had some chicken, and I knew I could talk. And so that was my starting piece, and 8 years later, we doing more than just sitting at the table eating chicken. We are providing monthly support group. We're networking with agencies that's providing therapy and counseling, and we just learning how to live through our grief and trauma.
Could you give your son's full name? And could you share just a really joyful memory you have of him?
My son's name was Fontaine Torres Sanders, but we call him BJ. And I would say a joyful moment of him is his birthday. He always looked forward to celebrating his birthday, which happens to be April 15th. He'd been 28 years old. So his birthday and being able to go spend all my money on an outfit that he was only going to wear that one day. Yeah, so that would be my memories of him preparing for his birthday.
Is there anything that you do on his birthday in his honor?
The basketball game. I do this basketball game. This will be our 8th year. And so we normally go back to the park where his life was stolen, because that's where he lived most of his life. And I went back to that park not to honor his death, but to honor his life. And it's like I tell people, he lived more there than anything else, and he enjoyed that park. And so I wanted kids to be reminded the park is a safe space. When my baby was shot, the detective told me he just so happened to be at the wrong place. The park is never a wrong place for a kid. The shooter was in the wrong place. And so that's why I go back to that park. This year we can't go back there because they're remodeling, but we still hosting the game to honor his life and do what he enjoyed, playing basketball. So I can't play basketball, but I'm watch the kids play and be excited and cheer them on. The park that we normally host it at is Franklin Park District, right up here on 15th and Colin. But this year we'll be at UCAN. It's a community center.
If someone is in their community and they go through something similar, maybe lose a child, a friend, any loved one, and they don't know where to start, what would be your piece of advice to creating a space like this?
Just start. Just start. I didn't know the steps. I didn't know the rules. I just knew I wanted somebody to hear me. I wanted to talk about my baby, and I didn't want to drown in it. I wanted to know how to survive without him. And so I started talking about him. People started hearing it, and the resources just started coming. The connections just started coming. So just start talking about your loved ones, and what's supposed to be surrounding you gonna come.
Hi, I'm David Plotz, the CEO of CityCast. We've all set health goals: lose weight, exercise more, eat better. But without a plan, those goals often fade. That may have happened to you. It has definitely happened to me. And that's where Prolon comes in. Prolon's 5-day fasting mimicking diet gives you a science-backed, structured approach to stay on track and see real results. And now Prolon is upping their game with the new Next Gen 5-day program, delivering the same science-backed benefits in a cleaner, more convenient, and more flavorful format. Prolon is a plant-based nutrition program featuring soups, snacks, and beverages designed to nourish the body while keeping it in a fasting state, triggering cellular rejuvenation and renewal. Next Gen builds on the original Prolon with 100% organic soups and teas, a richer taste, and ready-to-eat meals. Developed over decades at USC's Longevity Institute and backed by top U.S. medical centers, Prolon has been shown to support biological age reduction, metabolic health, skin appearance, fat loss, and energy. I've been doing the 5-day program, and I feel so much better. I really enjoy the tasty energy bars, the snacks and soups, and the fact that I can enjoy meals, even though the calorie count is super low. The flavors and textures are excellent. An olive oil snack here, broccoli and quinoa soup there, hibiscus tea, a yummy nut bar. It's got the benefits of a 5-day fast, but doesn't have the challenge of doing it with pure liquids. It's a system reset. And also, I know this sounds funny, but it's not. The packaging and directions are fantastic, clear, and well-organized and thoughtful. For a limited time, you can be first in line to experience the new Next Gen at special savings. Prolon is offering CityCast listeners 15% off site-wide, plus a $40 bonus gift when you subscribe to their 5-day program. Just visit prolonlife.com/city. That's PROLONLIFE.com/city to claim your 15% discount and your bonus gift. prolonlife.com/city.
Why do you think spaces like this are so vital to communities that experience gun violence?
It's vital because we the most affected, but we the least helped. And so when you can bring a little light back into such dark spaces, it ignites hope. It ignites hope and help. Not just hope, but help. And so when I got to talking, it started getting to the ears of people that could help us. And so it helps communities like this because you counsel down some of the violence. The violence rate is down in North Lundale. And it's because we begin to show people how to live together without being violently all the time. You can disagree without being violent, disagreeable. And so when you create these spaces, we teach each other again how to coexist.
When you hold space today for, your son, and when you're around people who are also holding space for maybe their children, what do you feel after the event? Like what's kind of the after effect of being in community and being around people who understand you?
It's emotional.
Hello, my name is Cynthia McCarty, and I'm holding space for my son, Jacob Isaac Tobiah Norwood. He was killed January 21st, 2017.
Hello, my name is Carmelita, and my son Ronald was taken away by gun violence of June of 2022.
Hi, I'm Tiffany Hood, and my son Ray J. James was taken November 4th, 2024 from gun violence.
My name is Amber Donald. I'm holding space for my cousin. He was murdered on September 25th, 2006. His name was LeVar Gladney. He left behind 2 children and a sister, Lynn Gladney. And I'm holding space for my family. He was my first cousin. And he was shot while sitting on a porch.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Kiana Baxter. I'm here to support as well. I lost a host of childhood friends over the years, so I'm holding place for all of them, as well as my cousin, Wanzi. Excuse me. His real name is Ahmad Julius, and he was murdered on April 18th of 2018. It's just crazy being so young and then just looking back, and a lot of my friends are gone. A lot of them didn't get to go to college or nothing. I was in college when I lost Wanzi, and I just could not believe it. We think we got time. I don't know who told us that, and that just made me embrace my friends, embrace my loved ones more. I'm here today. Thank you, Banco, wherever you at. Okay. Thank you for inviting me today. Because I normally don't speak up. And just having this today to be able to speak up is crazy. Now
It's emotional. It brings up, all those feelings, anger, bargaining, all those things. But after these events, I kind of feel how I feel after a basketball game and my son's team won. I'm excited. And so that's what I look at after this. I go home and I talk to him via his picture and be like, it felt like the end of one of his basketball games because I saw smiles on faces that I hadn't saw smiles on in a long time. And so it makes my heart smile to know that we're helping people process their grief. People like to hear their kid's name. They used to think it hurt, but today we showed them how to say their loved one's name, and it felt good instead of hurting. So that's what these events. It makes me feel like the end of a basketball game, and we won.
That just hearing that makes me so emotional because I know that the idea of your son winning a basketball game, that's when he's the happiest, and so you're the happiest, and I think that's such a beautiful way to compare, and also the sentiment of hearing someone's name
We light these candles up, and as you hold your candles up, I ask you to either recite the name of the person you hold space or recite your name if you feel like you're the survivor today, because we're all survivors.
Darryl Barfield. Tariq Johnson.
Fontaine Sanders.
Fontaine Sanders, Cornelius Hunter, Mario Shields.
BJ Rock.
Thomas Lee and Trina Smiley.
Cornelius Hunter, I call him Bonbon, and a Fontaine.
Rashad McIntosh, killed by the police about 7 years ago. Travell Rogers and Curtis Powell.
I'm understanding it of like, wow, these people may have not heard their son's name, their daughter's name, their cousin's name. Like, they haven't heard their names months, maybe since, around the time the tragedy had happened.
Yep, and so that's why it's so important that we do it, so that they can, hear somebody else celebrate. Like the mom, today was her son's actual birthday, and she went to the cemetery, her and her little family, and she thought nobody cared but her and her family. And coming into this space, she had a whole community of people to wish her son a happy heavenly birthday.
Today is happy birthday. Happy birthday, Patrick. See, that's the thing. Our loved ones might not be here, but they were here. That's right. And we can never forget that. That's right.
So these events are important so people to know you're not alone. Because most people, once they put their loved one in the ground, they think everybody done went back to their life and they don't care. But these events bring us back together to let people know we really on this journey with you. Because grief is a journey. It's not a destination, it's a journey. And so when we come together every year, it reminds people we on this journey with you.
Anything you want to say that you think is important for people in Chicago to know about why these spaces are so critical to us?
Don't grieve alone. Grief alone is not good. Find you a community. That's why our group is called Hug, because in those moments, you just be needing a hug sometimes. Sometimes you ain't got the words, but a hug can go a long way. So I just tell people, don't grieve alone. Connect to a community. There are a lot of community groups out here that can help you navigate this process.
I really appreciate you going to the event, Michelle. I appreciate all of the people who attended and who spoke. You can really hear the pain in people's voice, the hope to like move on, and the gratefulness to have this space and these community members. Like, as you were talking about, for some of them, this may have been the first time they stepped into a space like this, to like sit in those memories. I mean, even as I'm sitting here listening to the tape, I'm bawling as I'm sort of moving through memories with my friends and, and loved ones and family members who have been survivors, and sort of how their lives have been irrevocably changed. It's such an emotional space, and I appreciate everyone being there and being there for each other. After talking with Kornicki and so many of the folks in attendance, what do you think was the most important thing you learned about why this is important?
There's two things that I feel like I really took away from attending. The first is that, and something you just talked about, is that survivors of violence oftentimes don't have spaces where they can talk about fully like what happened to them. I mean, of course, they have to talk to detectives in length when the actual tragedy happens. And of course, they have to talk about it again and again and again when family members and friends ask about what happened. But after that, there's this like notion of like needing to let go. And these are events that they're nearly impossible to get over. And so to have spaces like this where people are given grace and they're able to share stories about their children, their cousins, their partners that they lost, it's really important to them. A lot of people just want to remember that the person they lost was once here. The second thing is accountability. A lot of survivors are still seeking justice. Some shared that they're doing a lot of work with the Homicide Data Transparency Act. This aims to increase transparency in state law enforcement agencies when it comes to homicide investigations. A lot of people in the circle shared about times where the detectives that were working on the cases weren't getting back to them. They weren't answering their phone calls, or they were kind of just leading them astray, not giving them information on where the investigation was, which can really prolong the healing process for these families. And so it calls for these law enforcement agencies to make public, one, how many homicides occurred in a month based on the time of death of the victim, two, how many of the homicides had an alleged perpetrator arrested and charged, and three, how many homicides are considered cleared or closed for a reason other than arrest and charging of an alleged perpetrator. And so a lot of people in the group kind of took this time to talk about the importance of accountability, how they really want the state to step in and to make this possible so that a lot of families aren't just left in this limbo space, that they know what's happening behind the scenes so that they can rest easier at night.
Again, Michelle, I really appreciate you going out, making this connection and meeting with all of these family members. We really appreciate it.
Thanks, Jacoby.
But we do. Even though I wish BJ would still be here, because April 15th would have been his 28th year birthday. I thank God for the 19 years I had him. Yeah. So another reason this event is so, as I said, we turn that pain into power. We not going to dwell so much on what happened to them over what we can do now. Because we can't get them back. But we can do something starting today to change the narrative for ourselves and for somebody else. So we have some more families that came.
Before we get out of here, please bookmark and visit our website, chicago.citycast.fm. There you can subscribe to our daily newsletter, Hey Chicago. Maybe you have or you haven't noticed, but our brand new Hey Chicago newsletter editor, Emmy Mack, is behind the wheel now. She's from Albany Park, loves creative writing, poetry, Chicago hot dogs, concrete beaches, and she is so damn excited to explore this city with all of us. So if you're not signed up, go ahead and end that nonsense today and subscribe now. You know I can't let you go without some good news. I want to give a huge thank you to writer Trinity Alicia, photographer Ash Lane, and the entire team over at The Tribe for publishing a story about the history of JB skating in Chicago. James Brown's classic like Pass the Peas, The Payback, Make It Funky, with a soundtrack of my skating youth, and seeing my brother on the cover, my mom featured, my homegirl Sydney was interviewed. I just really appreciate everybody who was involved in the piece. I will drop a link in the show notes so you can read it yourself. We're going to be back tomorrow with the homie Corley J from The Tribe and Jake Sheridan from The Tribune. Hopefully you'll be here with us. Peace.